Hello, guys. Welcome to another interesting episode of Gist with Esse. I'm so excited about today. I'm always excited about all my shows anyway. But today I've got a very special guest in the house, and he's going to be talking to us about the secrets to a successful marriage. Okay. So if you guys are joining me, wherever you're joining me from, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, please, you know what we do here: share so your friends and family can be a part of the conversation. And the minute I bring the guest on, please start sending in your questions and your comments, anything you want the guest to attend to. Please start doing it right away so that we can take on the questions as the show goes on. Okay, so a lot of you already know who's coming on because I've gotten a lot of messages, from excited people like, yay, So yeah, let's get it kicking. I'm just going to bring him into the studio right away. His name is Nnamdi Oboli.
Hey, hi everyone.
Hello, sir. Welcome to the Gist with Esse show.
Thank you, Esse, and thank you for bringing me here. It's always nice to have a chat when it comes to marriage anyway. I hope
It's
you can
really
hear me
good to
very
have
well.
you.
I hope you can hear me well. That's what I want to be clear
Yeah, I can
about.
hear you very well, very well.
Okay,
And in
okay.
the audience, if you can hear, please, if you can't hear us well, please let us know in the comments so that we can do what needs to be done. Okay. So yeah, today we're talking about secrets to a successful marriage. So this is what we're going to do on the show today. If you're joining us, say hi, drop a comment, tell us where you're joining us from. And for today, please tell us how long you've been married, if you are married. Okay. So let's just see. Okay, so I'm going to start. EssePanya in the house, 4 years married. And I know some other people in the house that are 16 years married, 10 years married, and stuff like that. And our guest is 21 years married, going on 22.
Yes, it'll be 22
Yes,
in October. Yes.
in October. Wow, wow. Wow. So before we get started about, marriage and all of that, tell us a bit about yourself. We know your wife. We all know your wife. We all love her. Okay, but who is Nnamdi Oboli, the man behind the beautiful, beautiful actress?
Well, I'm a simple guy, nothing too complicated or anything like that. I studied optometry in the University of Benin, finished from there, and I practiced for a number of years, yeah, before branching into IT, data science and analyst. So basically, that's just me. And I also write. I discuss a lot of things with people. I also counsel in marriages and discuss have extensive debates with different people on different issues and all that, especially on the Christian faith as well. So yeah, that's basically a nutshell of where I am.
Okay, so you wrote a book, and I love the title, by the way, for marriage for better for us. Yeah,
Yes.
what inspired that, and what inspired the title as well?
The title came from my mom. She's always said it in a different way. In other words, but I always took it somehow. I mean, the way she took it was like, oh, this is for us. This is for better for us. And everything that comes with it is a whole package. So I looked at it and said, yeah, that really is what marriage is about. If you start looking at it, it's for us. Then there's everything falls into that sphere of for us. It's no more about them versus us. It's no more my husband versus my family versus theirs. It's for us. And if you think like that, it becomes something that you can guard and your focus and your energy is towards bringing that unity. So I wanted to write based on that because that's the philosophy I used in my own marriage to try and understand how to go forward every time to get through hurdles that may seem to be terrible or obstacles for other people, but I see it as nothing because it's always for us. That's the key thing in it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Babati and Tracy, for joining us. So today on the show, what we're doing is when you join us and you're married, please state where you're joining us from and how long you've been married. Okay, because we have a 21-year-old years married man in the house, so we have a lot to learn. But also you can drop your tips, like you've been married for X number of years and this has been the secret to keeping us together and stuff like that. So, let's just make the show interesting. Okay, so my next question, sir. You've been married for over 21 years to the beautiful and successful Nnamdi Oboli. See, when I say that with such a smile because every time I say that name, I see her face and I see that beautiful smile. That's one of the things I love about her smile. Okay, and she's in this very fast-paced, so-called um, controversial entertainment business. Okay, there's a lot of controversy surrounding the kind of business that she is, and it's a life of spontaneity. Okay, you can be with your wife 1 minute having a good family time, and a call comes in or a message comes in, and she's like, "Babe, I need to run. I have a show, or I have, whatever it is, So how have you been able to manage that for 21 years, or for as long as she's been in acting?
Okay, it didn't start with her being an actress. I didn't marry an actress, even though she had started acting before. I married Moni as a person, a girl, a woman who was her own person. She had an identity outside of what people see her as an actress. And whatever she brought into the home, she left the drama on the screen. It wasn't in the home. It
Wow.
wasn't something that she always brought back. So that's a different life. To her, it was a job, and a job has to be done in certain ways. You follow certain rules when it comes to those jobs, but it doesn't have to transfer into bringing that same job. You don't turn your family into your fan base and start treating them like you are their star and everything as well. But you treat them as a wife, a mother, and everything that goes with a package deal of safeguarding your family. Remember, your work only serves to give you the income that you bring in to make your family work. So your family
Okay.
ultimately is the goal. It's not about whether she's a movie or anything. But another thing is, as controversial as it may seem, it's no different from probably what you see with doctors and nurses in hospitals. The difference is that the spotlight is on them. So it seems like, whoa, this is a lot we're getting from these people. But they're just basic, ordinary people, very ordinary. If you get to know them, many of the celebrities are just like you and I. There's nothing different. They want the same things as you do. They aspire for the same things. They want the same leaders in their community. They want the same services that they'll get from other people. Good services, I mean. So they're just the same people. It's just that the difference is that the spotlight is always on them. If you go and
Okay.
complain about something at the store and say, look, you guys gave me fake goods or something like, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
That would pass by as one customer challenging the system and telling them, hey, why are you doing the wrong thing? If a celebrity does it, there's a spin on it. The same action, but now it looks like it's a controversy from one and it's normal from the other person. That's the
Okay.
only difference that comes. So they're just ordinary people, and she's an ordinary woman who does exactly what she does at home because she loves her family and she caters to them. And for me, my own part wasn't to see her as a celebrity, but someone that I already celebrated before she became a celebrity. It wasn't something that I suddenly grew into, oh wow, she's this person I'm married. I'm not married to the actress Nnamdi Oboli. I'm married to Nnamdi Oboli, who happens to be an actress. That's the difference.
Wow. Okay. In your book, you actually said that you proposed to her after 2 weeks,
Yes.
of dating. So you met this beautiful young lady, and you were mesmerized, swept off your feet, and you said, "Okay, I want to date her." And then after just 2 weeks, you're like, "Babe, will you marry me?" Or how did that go down? How did that happen?
Okay, here's the thing that what happened. When it comes to relationships, for the men, most times we know what we want. Sometimes we get cajoled into different ways of thinking about what we want, and we start sidelining from the things we want and then start treating the one we want as somebody we don't want. I didn't
Hmm.
want to do that. I didn't want that mistake at all. I had seen what I wanted, and we're now talking in terms of everything I said was now what will happen when we get married. Oh, is this how the children? It will be nice on the children if we do this and do
Hmm.
that. Then one day she stopped me and said, wait. All this rigmarole you keep doing round and round, you're dancing around the topic. What are you saying exactly? This, our children are home and things. What is it exactly you're saying? Are you proposing or you are not? And I said, yes, I'm actually proposing in my own way and everything. I
Yeah.
said, then she said, then do it properly. Stop going round and round and stop dancing around the topic. And the good thing about it is that sometimes for the men, we're too scared to actually make the plunge, even when we do have the right person. So when you meet the right lady who is also steering you in the right direction, it's also very good. Because what
Okay.
it does two things. It makes you view it fully and head on and decide, no, it's not going to happen. This is not the right one for me. And you run, or you make that plunge into it. While for some men, it's like, oh, it's too forward. Why would you even think of broaching the subject when I haven't really started it? It's as if it's a masculine trait, which, well, I didn't get the memo for that masculine trait. But here's the thing. She made that, she asked the right questions. I pushed hard enough because I had seen that this is a wife in every way that I wanted to be. She wasn't perfect in everything, but I was looking at the fact that I wasn't perfect either. So, but both of us
Mhm.
had basic foundations to make it work. I'd seen her family, and I was like, wait a minute, I like this upbringing. I can see where she's going. Her mother was somebody who was really strictly for a look. Even though she was separated from her husband, she hated divorce. She never remarried
Mm.
because she felt, hey, I've been married once and I cannot marry again under the eyes of God. So that principle was in her all through. And I looked at it, I said, if someone is going into a marriage knowing that it's also is going to be for life, that there's no plan B of opting out,
Yeah.
then there's absolutely nothing we couldn't iron out. There's nothing we couldn't deal with in that context that would be too much, too insurmountable or irreconcilable to be able to make it work. And of course, I'm not going to behave like so badly that she would want to do that as well. So that was part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Tracy and Tracy, let me just read Tracy's comment. She says, I'm joining from Canada and I've been married for 16 years. Wow, Tracy,
Wow.
can you share, one tip? Just give us one tip how, you've been, how you guys have managed for 16 years. Okay, we're here to learn. Like I said, 4 years, so I could learn something from you as well. And Babati, it would be nice to share a tip as well. What makes your marriage work? Yeah. Okay. So before I ask my next question, I want to read, a part of your book that really got me. When I read it, I was like, wow, I've never seen this in this context before. Okay. It's from chapter 3, and you wrote, "A man must live to cleave. There must be a union such that everyone knows that both of you are on the same page in your marriage. In other words, you must be one. If a man does not leave the influence of father, mother, and in many cases, friends, he cannot truly be joined to his wife. When there is divided loyalty, there can never be oneness in any relationship. There must be a physical, financial, and emotional separation from parents, family, and some friends who must give you that space needed to cleave properly to your wife so that the two of you can become one in all things. Many couples have allowed many marriages, they are married, sorry, I lost. Many couples have allowed their marriages to be put asunder because they yielded to the unholy intrusion of their families, friends, or society. They didn't apply this basic principle of living so they can cleave properly to themselves in their union. It is this principle that their souls can then be joined together to become one in the sight of God. There is a bonding process that must occur between the man and his wife after they have tied the knot to establish their oneness, because they will struggle with becoming one except they permit themselves to be naked in all things and not be ashamed. Though they consummate their union in the matrimonial bed, they will still struggle to see themselves as one if they do not leave their families and other sources of strong influence. Okay, so my question here now is about the other sources of strong, I like the use of the word strong influence. Okay, if we look at our society today, especially even with what we can see on social media, like you said, because they are celebrities, their life is easier to access than most other private people. So this question is not to say that there aren't people who aren't celebrities going through divorces in their marriages. It's just that the celebrities are in the limelight, so we see their issues, right?
Yeah.
Can you say that social media has a role to play in all of this divorces going on around?
Well, what I would say is social media presents a new form of excuse for it. It's not that it's
Okay.
influencing it has an influence. There's nothing that doesn't have an influence. Anything you interact with has makes an impact in your life. When the Bible tells us to guard our hearts with all diligence, from out of it spring the issues of life, it means that we're going to have to be careful about what we take in, because those things have a way of finding a way in expression in us, in what we do in our daily lives. That these subtle, unconscious intrusions into our marriages or our lives that we don't know. We begin to repeat something that we heard a long time ago and we've forgotten who told us, but it seems like it's part of our nature. But we think it came from us. It wasn't something that was idle. It was something or that just came out of thin air. It was something that was implanted. And the reason why it's implanted is because it's so deep. The roots go so deep that when it springs out, you don't even know where it came from, but you've been influenced. So you have to be careful about what guards it. So when something is constituting a strong influence is when you do not put boundaries about what must be said or discussed. Like now, I would not go to a woman bash fest with men whereby, oh, women are this and that, and I wouldn't do that. It's just not my crowd, because you can't be in those situations and still respect and honor women for who they are. First of all, they are made in the image of God, just as men are made in the image of God. So when we're dealing with people, we have to deal with them in the context of that. Do you care for them as people who are co-image bearers as well? Or are you trying to denigrate one group as if there's something ontologically different from them than you? It's not. So it's a careful thing of allowing strong influences, whether it comes from relationship, from in-laws and family and friends or whatever it is. It's the same impact it has. Social media just amplifies what has already been there. There's nothing new under the sun. It's just the same thing, but it's been amplified by social media. And sometimes because we can hide behind the veil, because never was there a time when people would state something and not show their face. This was the period whereby we can say things and become anonymous all of a sudden. There's no face to it. We just make comments on somebody's page. And then if we're challenged in real life, maybe taken to court for it, suddenly we start retracting and we're afraid because we've been exposed. Because everything that comes to light, darkness has to flee. So be careful about what brings into your marriage. Your wife is your responsibility. Your home is your responsibility. I'm talking to the men especially. That doesn't excuse the women either, because as they're talking about the man must leave to cleave, the woman also has to understand that she's no more under authority of her father or her pastor or her whatever it is, that she feels that she owes allegiance or respect, that she's given respect freely in the past. These are things that she has to bring in subjection when it comes to her husband. She has to understand, she has to humble herself before him, not because he is better than him in the sense he may even be more brilliant than he is. That's not the point. Those orders were not put there because God was discriminating. He put order because without order, we have chaos. Once there are two presidents in any country, it's assumed that there's civil war in that country. That's what it means. So you can't have two leaders. You have to have a leadership structure. That doesn't mean that the leader is the smartest person in the room. It's usually the one who delegates the best. So having is how do you don't bring down the real source of influence in your home should be your wife. Because everything you're doing, if it doesn't make her happy, then your home is not being built. You're building it for an audience that is not your home. You're building it for a crowd or people that don't leave your home, don't sleep on your bed, who don't eat your food. These are people that you are doing it for. That's a wrong affection. And if we're going to mirror it with Christ and the church, then it becomes like I'm serving Christ and another master. How can you do that? It's not possible. And Christ is not irresponsible enough to go and start, instead of tending his sheep, he now start tending the other people who are not his sheep. As in conflict with the ones that he's tending. That's not what he does. He tends to his sheep. He uses the same standards when he's bringing new one into it as well. So we have to always be careful to guard our home, guard our hearts. Let it be that anything that comes into the home is something that always has to increase value to your relationship, not to your finances, not to anything else, to your relationship, because the key thing in marriage is the relationship. The finances are there to enhance or to bring it down, because there are many people who have gone on to become very successful as a couple, but ended up in divorce. Why? When others are saying that, oh, it's finances that's causing it. Others are saying it's finances that actually broke it and destroyed it. I mean, Bill Gates is married, but his wife ended up leaving him. How much more money can you have than Bill Gates? But his wife didn't feel it was good enough to keep her in the home. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when we make it about all these other external things instead of the relationship, we are taking away the responsibility of the person to look at their home and take responsibility. Because when you said for better for worse, you had better be serious about better for worse. Because for better for worse means that things will get better, you're still there. When it's worse, you will still be there. Are you ready to make that commitment? And when I say for better for us, because the principal thing about marriage is that it's built for two people to enjoy it. Even your children
Wow.
shouldn't get in the way of it. That's the key thing about marriage.
Okay, great. So that brings me to this question. The man is the head and the woman should submit to the head. Yeah. What happens, or what would you advise a woman whose head is abusing his leadership? Okay, so now let's digress a little about relationships where the man is being abusive. So whether it's physical or emotional or financial abuse, whatever kind of abuse, he is abusing that, headship, that leadership role that he's been given. What do you advise a woman to do? Especially when her life now, she feels like her life is being threatened.
Okay, so there's a lot in there. It's not one issue, it's a lot of issues. And I don't like to rope all of them in at the same time. When it's a
Okay.
physical abuse, go away from the home because now it's your life that is in danger. First, leave. Now, I don't advocate for divorce as the first thing because you need to still deal with the problems that come with it, underlying problems. We have to trace it back and we have to see each person has to heal in the sense that what did I do to trigger the other person? And if I did nothing, let me at least know that I didn't do anything. But if I did something, then let me know what it is. Because what happens is that you see a woman who is abused by a husband, goes into a new relationship, and the same man, the other man is also abusing. Then sometimes you check
Abusive.
back and find out that the man is no more abusing the second wife. What did the second wife do that he's no more abusing that the first wife didn't do? You see, sometimes when we don't understand our own baggages and the things that we also provoke in people, I'm not making excuses for each one. I'm just saying that each one has to take account of their own role in getting people
Yeah.
to that state where they, so that we don't make it a men versus women or women versus, because there's abuse on both sides. There's women
True.
abusive, there are men abusive. But when it comes
True.
to physical abuse, it's measured, it's physical. It's something that we all know it's dangerous and your life could be in danger. Flee first. That's the first thing to do. When it comes to emotional abuse, it becomes arbitrary in many cases. It's a subjective feeling. Some people will feel it's emotional abuse if you tell me that you have to come to bed at a certain time, or that you didn't let me go out with the girls or the boys out. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not something you can measure and quantify. It becomes basically every man for himself in that
Yeah.
category. It's always good to look at emotional abuse from a contextual position. You need to deal with those couples and their unique problems. Don't broaden it and say emotional abuse is bad. What is emotional abuse? Some children feel it's abusive for their children, for their parents to tell them what to do, and they're angry. While other children feel, wait, that's the only way you can correct me. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are people who celebrate their
Yeah.
parents and say, wow, they beat me as a child, and they're almost taken as a pride. Man, I was really disciplined as a child. Thank God for my parents. While some grow up and say, my mother beat me and I was really upset and I don't like my parents because of that. Whatever you look at, be careful that you don't use one person as a broad brush for everyone. Emotional abuse is very
Okay.
difficult to measure. So don't ever use it as a broad spectrum and say emotional abuse is bad. What do you mean? You have to deal with it in context. So everybody has to do that. And you also have to have people who you can identify with that will bring you to that place of correction, that would help you to iron out these things honestly. Not people who are emotionally tied to you that listen to and say everything the man says or the woman says is bad because they are your people.
Yeah.
Those are dangerous. Those are very dangerous. So you have to be careful about that as well.
Okay, thank you. Let me take another comment from Tracy. And she says, for me, I've learned that communication is very important. Every couple should learn to talk about everything, no matter how little or insignificant you might think it is. Communication. I completely agree. You need to talk about everything. No sweeping of anything under the carpet. Okay. It's for me, if one person is bothered by it, it's enough for you to talk about. It's not insignificant. Once one party is bothered by whatever the issue is. So while the other person may be thinking, oh, but this is insignificant, this is not really an issue, this is trivial. If your partner feels bothered by it, then I think you should take the time to listen to them. Would you agree with that, Mr. Nnamdi?
Yeah, communication is a very, like I said, it's also a different, it varies from couple to couple. I don't, like I said, I don't use a broad brush. There are principles in marriage, and we have to look at those principles. I wrote about communication in my book, and I said it's very key. When I mean communication is, there are a lot of things that people don't understand when it comes to communication. Is that there'll be a time when you wouldn't have external experiences anymore. When people get older, they don't go to work, they're now stuck in the home with this woman who happens to be a stranger or a friend. The reason is you're a stranger because while you were working, you go to work, you come back, you don't communicate what happens at work. You don't share your experiences. So now you've lived out 22, 30, 40, 50 years of working, of experiences that you, right now, you're at your old age and you realize my husband doesn't even know what happened. So I can't laugh over something I feel is funny right now to me because I had that experience. Or my wife can't understand what I'm saying. They're not looking for your co-worker. That's why you see a lot of divorces happening after 35, 40 years of marriage. And that's sad because they're suddenly at home, no children in between to fill in those gaps, and they find a stranger at home. It's like, who is this woman? Who is this man that I'm living with? I don't know him because everything I shared with this guy at work or with this girl at work. Yeah. So you need to communicate that. At the same time, also learn what kind of communication is good. There's always someone that should always look at those things, ask questions. My mom was always the one dragging my father. Okay, what happened today at work? And you see, he's the quiet one. He doesn't talk much, but that helped the relationship. I saw how the fruit that it bore when they retired and none of us were in the house. It was now the communication. They will see the same thing and laugh. You remember that thing happened in your bank? She will be telling him, oh, they will laugh because she asked that question. And he would talk about when she was a teacher and then became a national director of national population. You know, questions based on the fact that they were always in constant communication, not necessarily about the micro details. Be careful. Sometimes some communication is too much. It can break your marriage. Be careful. So we have to learn how to guard them, not necessarily with every single detail, but on the general view, communicating also that you don't have the gaps. That's the key thing I look at.
Okay, I'm going to pick on what you just said, that you be careful not to share too much. What is too much?
When I say too much is that sometimes some things are misconstrued. A casual thing may look like a big deal to you because you know your husband, you know your wife, you know how they process things. So you're looking at, okay, let me just give this much information based on this. Not because what you did was bad, but because it will be taken wrongly by the other person. This is how they will assess it. This is what they will do. You just say, you know what? Just for sleeping dogs to lie. Like I could be offended about many things, and I don't tell my wife that she does. And I find out that with time, other things take over those things. And if I had expressed it earlier, it may have caused a rift that I wouldn't like the outcome, or I would have sown a seed towards that it wouldn't have profited us in the future. It would be like one hanging thing there that she has to watch out for. So what I do is I process it, and then go through it and stew it and realize that there's some things I have to take as baggage because she's not perfect and I'm not. And I'm sure there are some things that probably she doesn't like about me that she wouldn't want to communicate directly. Not because she doesn't feel it's something that I need to correct. But we found out sometimes we've learned to tolerate things that we used to hate. And then we find out that sometimes, hey, it becomes the identity. We actually now love them for the things that we thought we hated in the first place. So like I'm saying, just if you're thinking of unity, if you're thinking of coming together all the time, those things must always be at the part, or to get that understanding that it's not everything that you always have to over communicate. You don't give micro details of such things. Yeah. And also,
I completely understand.
Yeah.
I completely understand. And that it's important to know your spouse to that point where you know, okay, I can't tell you this because I know that. For me, with my spouse, is usually because I know that he's loyal to a fault. And so if I call him and say, this person did this to me, automatically he's against that person. Okay, so I need to process it and know, okay, is this something I can, resolve with this person, amicably at some point in future? Did I overreact and stuff like that? So I don't bring it to the table. I don't tell him about it until, I realize, okay, you know what? I think now he needs to get involved. You get what I mean? So yeah, in that,
yeah,
you
don't
take
cause
your
them
time to share
sin.
the details.
Yeah, you don't cause them to sin, and that's very
Yeah,
key. Yeah. And
exactly,
I just
exactly.
wanted to make a
So
comment
yeah,
that the lady that was 16 years in marriage, that's fantastic. This year, for me, at 22 years, will make it that it officially crosses the line whereby my wife has been with me longer than before we met, kind of thing. You know, 22, we met when she was 21. So basically, she's been with me longer than her life before me.
whoa, yeah, wow, wow. And you know, they say after a while, couples start to look alike. I can see your money face in your face right now. Like when you're talking, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing some similarities. I don't know how true it is, but I know that people say that a lot, and I can
Yeah.
actually see it. It's true,
Mine
yeah.
was actually from the very first day. In fact, the first time my mother-in-law saw me, she was like, "What happened? That did I lose a son somewhere that I don't know about?" You know. So everybody has been saying it from the very first time. I was like, "Wait, couples have to get married before they start looking alike." In fact, somebody has actually stopped us on the road. I'm telling you the truth. Yeah,
Wow.
we're on the road, no car and everything. We're trying to get a taxi to get somewhere, and then one guy just parked his expensive car next to us and said, "Me, hey guy, I like your sister." After we're married, yes, yeah. So yeah. I said, "Oh, thank you," but it's my wife. Yeah.
Wow. So we can actually say that you found your exact missing rib.
Well, if you believe in that, yes.
So, moving before I move on, if you're just joining us, thank you. We're talking about secrets to a successful marriage with um, Nnamdi Oboli. A lot of you know his wife, a beautiful actress, Omoni Oboli. Yeah, I hope you can also see the similarities. And we're sharing how long we've been married. So if you're just joining us and you haven't shared, please um, just drop in the comment section how long you've been married and one of the tips, one of the tips that keeps your marriage going. Yeah, that's true. People say my hubby and I look like siblings. Wow. Okay. Okay, so moving on back to your book. I read something else that, really caught my eye. The what did you call it now? The birthright issue. I actually pen it out as something. Let me see that. Oh, yeah. Okay. So what you refer to as the Esau generation, right? So you said that a lot of men get married not prepared to be husbands, while the women get married prepared to be wives and mothers. Can you shed light on that? Because when I read it, okay, I got the understanding, I caught the rema. But for the sake of those, who are on this live show and watching and listening to you, and those who watch after now, please shed light on the Easter generation.
Okay. Let's look at the basic girl grows up with a mother who says, "Come to the kitchen, sweep. Oh, that you have to do this. Your husband will not like, when you get married, this is how your husband will, your daddy does not like it." There's always something that is always, it's like every form of training they get is towards that marriage. The father talks to them, he's growing that marriage, he's growing that principle. The guys are outside fighting Bruce Lee and then doing cowboy and Indians. So we're like, by the time we meet the women, we're in a different world and they're in a different world. They're looking at us with potential of, could this be the one? And we are looking at them as, hey, just a girl that is different from us. And so we think about what we can use them for while she's thinking about who I can be of value to. So there's always a crossroad that is not quite there, a point that's not yet been crossed. Let me just put it like that. So when we come in, we are thinking one way and the girls are thinking a different way. So that by the time we start thinking of marriage, the girl is far ahead. She has seen the marriage all the time. Now, in a sense, it's also good because the woman is be given to her as her safety net. Because remember, while we do the wooing, the woman has the chance to say, I want or I don't want. Unfortunately, for many women, they take the wrong road and they go for men that shouldn't have been their husbands. Even though they knew, because God gives you an intuition greater than the men, to be able to see men for who they really are. So when you tell me, and this is something I've done for many people I've counseled, is you find out that the women always knew the man was going to be something like what they saw. They were lying to themselves. They thought they would change him. And if you are not the Holy Spirit, I don't know how you're going to do that. Because the
True.
only people that can change apart from the Holy Spirit is if you take a doll, like I said it in my book, is put a pin to the doll and become a witch and start chasing people and changing them. No, you're not going to change the person. You are going to have to behave the way you are and hope that they will change towards you. So be careful about trying to use your feminine power to remove all the clear signs that he's pointing and telling you, this is who I am. It's not going to happen. But for the men, you have to also understand where you are. You're not connecting to the women because you have not been trained to understand who the woman is. You're not trained the value of a wife and your responsibility in your home. Because anything that happens in your home ultimately points back to the man. But unfortunately, in the African culture, which is the main people I was addressing, it points to the woman.
Mm,
Oh, there's a failure. The children are not well brought up. It's the woman. It's not the woman. You're the head of the
true.
home. How many? If a bank fails, they don't fire the janitor. They don't fire the branch man. They fire the CEO and they get it. If the coach, if the team is not winning, they don't fire the players. They look for a new coach. It's always has to be the head that takes full responsibility for everything. Whether your wife did something wrong, it always falls back to you at some point or the other. We don't go around blaming the local government chairman for the woes of Nigeria. Nobody does that. We blame the president. That's how it is. So it's the same principle that applies even in your own home. You have to be able to take for it. But to do that, unfortunately, we don't train the CEOs. We train the workers. And we expect the CEO to come out of nowhere. We do the same thing we do in Nigerian elections, basically.
Wow. Wow. So before I continue, are you a life coach? Do you do any kind of sensitization exercise? Because we need men like you that are constantly telling the young men who are not yet married, they need to learn these things. Because I've heard so many sayings like, "Oh, a woman is more mature. Men are like babies, so you need to treat them like babies." And I'm like, when are they going to grow up? Okay, when we keep saying that, and then it's like we're indulging bad behavior because people expect that a woman should be the one, if the home is falling apart, she should be the one to try and save her marriage, even when the man is the one misbehaving. So if we have more men like you coming out to educate the younger men, or even the men that are married already that are having issues, let them know that you need to take leadership of your home and stop expecting that because you are the man, the woman will automatically just perform some miracle that's going to stitch everything together. We need to do that. So are you doing anything in that light?
Oh, definitely. I'm doing some things as well. Not in the scale that I want to do it yet, but I'm still doing the plan for that to lay the foundation so that it will be done right. And my basic target is to reach the men, basically to be able to get them to start understanding and stop being childish about the way they handle things because it's irresponsible. And also to also bring women back to order in sense that women cannot be allowed to get away with things, almost treating them as infants when it comes to responsibilities of some things that they do. Because remember, the Bible also says that the wise woman builds her home, but the foolish one tears it down with her own hands. So tearing down with your own hand means that you don't take for granted so many things in relationships. And here's the tendency: women would go over and beyond to do whatever it takes to keep an unfaithful man. And they will do the same thing to not keep a faithful man. It's unfortunate, but that's a reality that we see every day. A man that is nice and kind to a woman tends to have the worst part of the woman. And the one who is heavily, is a wicked guy. You see the woman trying to cook and clean and, do the best package for herself just to make him appreciate her so that he can stay. So all the things that you put, the energy you put into trying to keep the bad guy, if you transferred it into the good guys, instead of the bad guys, the men will start behaving also. So we don't reward bad behavior. You know how it is, like, this is something that happens a lot. A celebrity that has hundreds of millions of followers does a post, and then you see comments, "Oh man, beautiful, beautiful." 100,000 comments saying you are wonderful, you are this and that. Then she picks the one that says you are bad, you are such a terrible, and she starts lamenting. How dare he say that? What was wrong with the other people? We're looking for those micro elements, those are the things. Don't focus on that. Focus on the
Yeah.
things that actually have value. Start celebrating the good things. Ignore the bad ones. Learn from the mistakes. Not that you don't ignore them totally. You learn from those things, but you move on. Try and celebrate the ones that are good. Don't celebrate the ones that are bad. And that's what we do.
Focus on the positive.
Yeah. Focus on the good guys. Because when you live, here's the thing: a man has no need to become nice to women when he sees women reward bad guys with their bodies, with their devotion, with everything else. But when he's nice, he's the one that will say, "Like, you can stay here. I don't have to give him my body even for the next 3 weeks or 1 month as the wife." Those are the bad things that we see. Oh, I don't have to do much. But immediately the guy is a bad guy.
Then they're struggling to keep him.
The woman will start telling you, is showing you her credentials of why he's a bad guy. What would she tell you? She'll tell you, I cook for him. I do this. I do all that. Oh, you do it. But when you now get married to the other guy, the guy is the one complaining that you don't do all those things. That's where the problem is. Don't reward bad behavior and expect men to be trained to understand that women want good behavior. It doesn't work. You're sending the wrong signals, basically.
Great. Okay. So we have another 16 years old marriage in the house. Congratulations, Kemi Emmanuel. Please share your secret. Tell us how you guys are doing it. For those of us coming behind and those people who are just getting married or planning to get married. We'll take a quick break, and then after the break, we'll return okay, so I didn't tell you guys, we're putting Nnamdi on the hot seat. We can't have you here with your 21 years experience and not put you on the hot seat. We definitely have to do that. So yeah, we'll go on a short break, and then when we're back.
No problem.
Oh God, yes you are. What more can I say? You are mighty. Yes you are. You're holy. You're faithful. You're precious. Nothing can compare. You're righteous. You are glorious. You're mighty. Nothing can compare. And I stand in awe of you, my God. You're great. Nothing can compare. You deserve the glory and honor, oh Lord. Nothing can compare. Mighty God, praise to you.
Okay, welcome back, guys. We're still live on the Gist with Esse show, and we have Nnamdi Oboli. You will not believe how many, when I posted that Nnamdi Oboli was coming on my show, how many inboxes, how many messages I got in my inboxes like, oh, Omani Oboli's husband, blah, 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 and everything. Yes, it's Omani Oboli's husband, and he's here on the show with us. So please ask all the questions you want to ask him now, okay? We're going to round up in a bit. So my next question is about your secrets. Okay, you'll be married 21, going on 22, almost 22 years. It's not a joke. I know that you guys, you would have had your, hurdles, your ups and downs and stuff like that. And secrets are they're relative to every marriage. Okay, so can you share some of your secrets to your marriage, the success of your marriage over these years? That you think every couple watching this show can or should adopt based on your own experiences?
Well, my top secret is one that God reigns supreme in my home. So that means everything that we do is basically has to come from a biblical worldview, understanding that God is the one who ordained marriage, and because He ordained marriage, He has the principal playbook on how it must be done. So He's a manual. Basically, we have to go to always get information about what we need to do next. So when it comes to building your home, that's the key secret. Now, here's the thing also, it's also meant for a godly people. So that means if my wife doesn't share that same sentiment, then it wouldn't be of mutual value to us. But that doesn't restrict me from what I do, because it's still the principle of marriage. And thank God that she's also a Christian who believes that. So that's number one, is that they have to have a godly center, because without that, there's no reference point. There's no standard by which you can say, I'm going right or going wrong. It can't be based on any man's opinion or any person out there. The second secret is understanding that there's marriages out there that work. Because the first thing I did was, I didn't mirror the bad marriages or the bad points. I kept on looking at the good ones that I knew, or even among the ones that were not so good, what was it that they enjoyed the most? What was the thing I could take back? So it's the values that I'm learning from people is the good part, and I shared the other ones. So it's basically kind of life editing, trying to find out which one works for me. So looking at people is very good, and then taking responsibility for your own actions, making sure that your actions are weighed properly before they're expressed. Very, very important, because so many times we're so quick to react, and the Bible tells us to be slow to speak, to be slow to anger, and to be quick to hear. That means you understand what it is. Quick to hear means to get the value, understand what these people are saying, get to know the picture, don't misrepresent their position. That means don't get to a place where you're trying to fight something that they didn't actually do or say. Get their position, but be slow to speak. Don't rush into trying to give an answer immediately. Then be slower. Those are the key. Those ones are principles at work. But the most important thing is the living and cleaving, meaning that my focus, my life my marriage must be fully focused on the one person that matters, that makes it a marriage, and that is my wife. My children don't make it a marriage. They are the product of our marriage, not the marriage itself. The marriage is already the union between a man and a woman. That's it. The fruit of the womb is a reward. It's not the marriage. Because one day they are going to be the child, the son or the daughter, who is going to leave you, the father and the mother, to cleave to their own wife, and they will become one. So don't live as if they are the ones that are ultimate. The ultimate is your wife, because that's the one that you are stuck with for the rest of your life. And always also value them as somebody else's daughter that could be yours. How do you want someone to view your own daughter? How do you want someone to view your own son? So don't treat somebody's son as if when you have a son, would you treat them with the same disrespect or the manner in which you treat the one you have? So be careful to always put things in perspective. That means if you say that you love your neighbor as yourself, you have to treat your husband as your very first neighbor, or your wife as your very first neighbor. The real expression. That's why in the Bible said, for a man to become an elder in the church, he must be the husband of one wife. He must be somebody who has exhibited those traits in the very primary thing. Because if you cannot rule your home with only 2 people, how are you going to be president of Nigeria trying to rule 200 million people? It's silly, but that's what happens in life. Your home is damaged because you can't rule one person. You can't even be tune into one person. So think about it as one unit. Every other thing that comes to serve to break up your marriage is an excuse. It's not the pressure. You are making, your in-laws are coming in, your excuses. Because who gets
Hmm.
what part of the in-law getting? They get in through one of you or both of you.
Hmm.
None of them have influence insofar as you don't permit them to get into the relationship. So those are the key things that really.
Wow. Wow. I guess that answers Babati's question. What are some of your secrets? Because what works for A may not work for B. Yeah. So what works for one marriage may not work. But I guess what you've shared so far can work across all marriages.
Yes, it's a principle that, here's the thing, never ever look at your marriage as with a broad brush of women are and men are. That's a lazy approach to marriage. Look at what John is doing. What do I like what John is doing? How do I take care of John? What is Mary doing? Is it Mary that I need to deal with? The problem is we're trying to, some women and some men are trying to fix all the problems women cause men or the men cause women through their own wife who didn't do it to them. It's sad, but that's the reality. She's not the one that did it to you. So stop using all women on her.
True.
You are running away from dealing with Jane. That's why you're calling all women. Deal with your wife because she's a unique being. Yes, all women, some women cook. She doesn't cook. What are her values? Don't try and make excuses based on what you think. Many marriages they die on the altar of my own personal preferences, not on the reality. It's what I want for my husband, he refused to do it. It's what I want for my wife, and she refused to do it. How about what she wants for herself? And then you are tagging along to say, yes, I want to help you accomplish what will make you happy, because your joy ultimately translates to my joy in my home.
Wow, great. That's really great. Babati also says, how do we get the hard copy of your book?
I have them in Nigeria. They can be shipped to anybody in Nigeria. So that's something I'll be done. I haven't yet. I'm still on the way to doing it on Amazon. I haven't gotten around to do that because I've also trying to write another book on marriages as well. So it's just in between all that. But there are hard copies that you just have to send a message and then we'll mail you the book as well in Nigeria.
Okay, so how much? That's the book Marriage for Better for Us by Nnamdi Oboli. Yeah, and what's the cost implication of that? How much is it in Naira?
I don't know right now because so many things have changed in terms of the dollar value and all that, but it's not supposed to be prohibitive in any way. It's just something that's basic. It's not going to be too expensive or anything.
Okay.
We're trying to maintain the cost while trying to get it to everybody as much as possible, because it was 3,000, but we'll just get it out to people.
Okay, so for 3,000 you can get a copy of the book, and if you need it, here is 1 minute. You can reach him on Instagram. Send him a DM on Instagram to get it. Okay, moving on. So yeah, you can just send him a DM to request, and then he will send you all the information that you need. Should be conversation says, this gentleman knows what's up. God bless you. Yes, he does. He really does. I just said to him, you need to, start sensitizing young men, because a lot of young men have missed it. A lot of young men. And I really agree with you. Need to get a copy of the book. You need to read it. There's a lot of information. I was reading, I was like, wow, okay, this is someone I really want to listen to. You just don't have the 22 years experience in marriage. You're actually, spitting facts, things that people can think back and understand that, okay, so this man behaving like this is it, or this woman's actions, this is why women are this way, this is why, you get what I'm saying? I'm also a life coach, so I've learned some things from your book that I can actually adopt and use in my life coaching, as well. So it's a very good book. It's a very good book for you guys to get. All right. So before we put you on the hot seat, how do you resolve conflicts in your marriage?
In prayer, you always have to go to prayer. It's very key. One, it gives you time to cool off. It gives you time not to respond quickly. It's like something that you
Okay.
put to your mouth. And here's one thing, in so many cases, in doing all that and delaying those processes, sometimes and I realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm the one at fault. And what do you do then? Yes. So if you had reacted earlier, it would have caused a conflict whereby you wouldn't have known that you were the one at fault. I'm talking about times when I'm at fault. And if I'm not at fault, then the question is, how do I break it down in such a way that I don't make it an issue, and also allow the person to come to their own understanding without making it a big deal? That way, you are not trying to bash it over their head, I'm right on all, because we also struggle with a lot of pride, even within ourselves, in trying to express ourselves. So you also have to check and say, yeah, your wife has pride as well, just as you have pride. So they wouldn't want to receive it in a certain way. So be careful how you break it down to them. Those are the key things I use in terms of resolving conflicts. But I'm not
Okay, I'll take one comment and we'll go to the hot seat. What advice would you give to men in marriage who do not listen to their spouses doing stuff?
It's self-explanatory. Listen. Just listen. It's not something that you are basically doing yourself. You are hurting yourself ultimately, because here's the thing. When you're in marriage, what is it that you want the most from your marriage? Is it to be the singular, joyful person in your home? That's a narcissistic behavior. And you have to be careful. And it's not just limited to men or women. That people just don't listen to the other side. They just don't care what you say. It's like, it's my position, or is my way or the highway. It's just, that's it. So be careful about not allowing people to express themselves right in the relationship. And then when I mean listen, it's not listen to the words they speak, because so many times we get lost in how they said it or what they didn't say. She didn't say this way or that way. How about what did they say? Is it true? Is it important? Because if the thing has no value in and of itself, then you're wasting time trying to deal with how they said it. You're now introducing a new form of confrontation that was never there in the first place, because they're delivering it in their anger. And you're saying, how dare you speak to me in that way? How about, what did you say? Let me see whether it is right or wrong. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the comments. Yeah. So Babati first says this marriage thing na patience, so LOL, you know. And then I'm going back to Shubi conversation, who says, does Nnamdi have a single older brother or friend with a similar mindset? Asking for a friend, though. Are you sure you're asking for a friend or you're asking for yourself? Okay, so I'll let you answer that question.
No, I don't have an older. I'm the older one in my family. The younger one is married anyway. So yeah, no, I don't have any older one.
Okay, so please, should be conversations. Tell your friend. Sorry, don't worry. He will train some single man, you know, to have the right mindset. So tell your friend to keep her fingers crossed.
I think they already have it. I think the problem is also looking beyond yourself. Too many people are trained to look at something else, especially women. You're working, your co-worker there meet all the things, if you really think about it. But he's just Tunde now. He's just a maker.
Yeah.
I know him very well, but he has all the qualities. Then you start checking out the guy who seems to pay no attention to guy. You know how it is when look at musicians, when they're in their videos, they portray exactly what the women want to see. A careless guy. Oh, go away, go. I don't really care. It's a carefree attitude, and they celebrate that. But they ignore the nice guy who pays attention to them, who wants to know, okay, why didn't you eat? Are you okay? Are you this? They are not looking at that guy who is hurting at the side, thinking, this is a good lady, but I can't get her because I'm not like that musician. I'm not like this superstarish kind of person. I don't wear my pants on my hips or something like, you know, those are the things that people look at. So change your values and you'll see the husband is right there and he's better than me.
Wow, okay. I like that. Okay, so Tracy says, this is the last question I'm taking and we'll put you on hot seat. So when taking time to pray over an issue, how would your partner know you're praying about this issue and not ignoring her? Good question.
No, it depends on what the issue is. Let me give this is so many times women want to hear quick answers. Oh, you must deal with this right now. No, I don't have to.
Okay.
That's where we're wired differently. I'm the guy, and you think you want to have it that way, and I don't want to have it that way. That's your problem. You need to deal with that. And my prayer has nothing to do with my partner. That's my relationship with God. I'm going to the source. That's something you have to deal with personally. That's for you, not for your partner. You don't go to God with other people's problems. You go to God with your own problem, your own perspective when it comes to that, and say, deal with me, know these things, and help me to deal better with the other person. And then God will begin to soften the other person's heart, or soften you so that you can bring a better response from the other person. It all depends on how God will choose to answer the prayer the way he chooses, because he's sovereign. I can't tell him how he's going to answer the prayer. The only thing I need to deal with is your own position. You see, I'm restricting this thing to your responsibility, what you need to do. It's not what God needs to do. I can't tell God what to do. And I don't know what my spouse is to do. That's their responsibility. Remember, when you take the vow to get married, you took the vow. Unless it's a shotgun wedding where they put a gun to your head and say, please, you had better say this marriage. You chose to take those vows. So that means your responsibility is to your vow, even when the other person is breaking theirs. You are not responsible to keeping their vows for them. They are responsible to God, whom they made a covenant to keep their own vows. Your own responsibility is to keep yours. Stop trying to look for what the other person's reaction to something is. If you can't deal with a situation head on and you feel it's prayer time, and the other one is saying you're ignoring me because of that, it's not your own position to deal with it at that time. That's how you have to look at it.
Okay. These guys are enjoying you, and the questions keep dropping. So here we have another question. Kemi says, how can a man live well with an alpha female in a relationship, a woman with a strong character?
You mean like my wife? Yeah, why not? The thing is, here's the thing you have to understand is, was she like that before you got married? And if you took the pains to look at her and say, wow, this is who I'm going to marry, and then you complain about what she is after that, whose problem is that? That's yours. You need to deal with it.
Yeah.
So the issue is, you know who you married. Why are you sad about the one you married? Why are you complaining about the decision you made to take that? Because ultimately, you're sharing responsibility, saying the woman is, I don't know what she made you do. That's an alpha female that you married. That's a woman who knows what she wants. She wants a particular set of things and she wants to stand on it. That's who she is. That's who you married. You chose to marry her. If you didn't want to get married to someone, you would have married someone else. But now you have to deal with that partner.
Okay, great. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to time you, and I'm just going to ask you, okay, straight up, tell us 3 things you would do to instantly put a smile on your wife's face, no matter how upset she is. 3 things, quickly. I'm counting down. How many seconds should we give him? Let me see. Yeah, the time is okay. So in 1 minute, I just feel like you're a soft guy. Let me be soft on you. So,
well, 3 things. 1, smile. My wife loves to smile. She melts at smiles and everything. She's a very reasonable person. She's that kind of person that you can just tell her, you know what? If you tell her, I'm sorry, the problem is gone. My wife, I'm sorry is like her kryptonite and everything. Once you say, I'm sorry, you know what? You're right about this. If you say you're right about this, forget it. End of story.
That's the mumu button.
That's the end of story. You're right, I'm wrong. And then she's like, okay.
Okay, so smile, sorry, what else?
Then just give her a hug, and that's it. She's a very affectionate person.
Sorry, hug.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, you need to be faster. Just hit it on the head.
Okay.
This, that. 3 things you absolutely love about your wife. 1.
She's a fantastic person. She's easy to talk to. She's a great friend.
Thank you so much for not saying she's a great cook. She's a good mother. Those are answers I'm tired of hearing. Very boring answers. Thank you. Yeah, so let's go into something that may be a little bit tough. What was your wife's first movie and what year was it released?
I can't say what her very first movie was, but I think she appeared in Shame. This was in 96. She played a house help to Liz Benson and RMD. She was basically, before then there was a Wakapa, so I can't remember the Wakapas, but that's the one I know.
Okay, you're actually close. Shame was her second movie. See me, okay? Hey, doing a money Oboli better than. I feel so proud right now. Don't mind me, I googled it. Her first movie was Bitter Encounter, and she was the secretary,
Okay,
and it was also released in 1996. So you got the
yeah.
year. Kudos to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you're given the opportunity to change something about your wife, what would it be?
That would have met earlier, yes.
That you had met earlier?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
She was really when you guys met.
I know, but I would have wasted my time before her.
Uncle, I don't know what you're all about. You proposed after 2 weeks, and the marriage plan started, and went according to plan, and you got married. So,
well,
okay,
so
great. So you wish you would have met earlier. Okay, if you could go back in time, what would you do differently? I think that is almost like the same question. Okay, what would you do differently in your marriage? And I'm asking because of some things that I read in the book about your early days or early, months in marriage.
Well, I don't know if I could have changed anything in terms of what I did, because those are the processes that got me where I am today. So
Okay.
I'm very wary of trying to change those things that built me up. It's like someone said rightly that if you get too much sunshine in your relationship, you end up with a desert. But if you allow the storm to come in and the wind to come, you actually start bearing a garden that is beautiful. So yeah, I don't want to be able to remove those things that actually helped me to become who I am today.
Wow, because those things are necessary on your journey. Yes. In whatever, whether it's in a marriage or it's work or it's your personal development, you go through these things and they help shape who you are. So those things actually help shape your marriage, and that's why you're celebrating 22 years in marriage.
You can't build muscle without resistance. It's not possible.
Wow. Great answer. Okay, so that's all from me. If you have any more questions for him, I'm letting him go now. Okay, you can drop it. But just thinking from the top of my head, where you are right now, are you close to your bedroom or your kitchen?
No, I'm not. I'm in my
No,
basement.
you're not. You're in your study.
Yes.
Okay, look around your study. Give me one thing that's Omoni's favorite in that study.
In that study, well, her books are here, and my books are here. Those are the key things. But I would say her favorite thing is this: the picture of her children.
Oh, that's not melting. Yeah. Thank you so much. Any last words for the people listening to you before we call it a day on the show? But thank you. You've been an awesome guest, and we've had such a lovely time.
Yeah. Well, I would say, remember, it's your marriage. Your marriage. Not somebody else's marriage, not somebody else's opinion, not somebody else's pet project. It is your marriage. Focus on your marriage. If you destroy your marriage because of whatever external forces that you think is making your marriage be what it is, then take responsibility that those external forces were not there a year earlier, or were not there 2 days earlier, or whenever it came into a position, it wasn't there before that. Your marriage is your marriage. Work on it, because whatever you put in is ultimately what you're going to get out of it. So always take note and account of every action you do, so you can actually retrace it and say, okay, I did this wrong, let me try another method, let me do something else. Because the person in front of you, your wife or your husband, is not a robot. They have feelings, they have a life. So always look at them, and you also have a God that you have to give account to as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Nnamdi Oboli, for joining us on the Gist with Esse show today. And remember, thank you everyone for joining us. Remember, until the next time we see you on the Gist with Esse show, stay positive, stay happy, stay mended. Love you guys. Bye.